Thanks everybody for coming to the Variety Studio panel on Best Supporting Actress in a Comedy. I just want to start off by asking, last year we had one story after another about, hey, women can do comedy and women in comedic projects can sell. You were in the middle of this with Bridesmaids. How strange an experience was that to have people report maybe the most obvious story in the world over and over again?
Yeah, it was kind of a bummer. I've been doing comedy for a while, and I thought that it was normal to do that, and I thought people were enjoying it. And it didn't really occur to me that that was an issue. I think as soon as we started promoting Bridesmaids, I noticed the same questions came up over and over again. And it really just taught me a really good lesson of many good lessons, which is there always needs to be a story. It was really kind of just a story. I think I'm sure when people are looking at the business side of movies and who goes to see them and why and who's in them, sure, I don't really think about that stuff. I think Bridesmaids is a good example of a movie that was made by funny people for the right reasons, and the goal of the movie was just to be a funny movie. There was no intention of, let's burn our bras and, while we're pooping in the street. So, Cheryl, Hines, and I come from the Groundlings. We were there together, and we've been doing unisex comedy for a long time, with boys and girls.
There
and
are
I never
there are a lot of girls at the Groundlings.
Yeah, a lot of girls at the Groundlings. And I never really thought that what I was doing was bizarre. I mean, I think as a young lady, maybe it's not what all young girls dress up as, they don't all dress up as Gilda Radner for Halloween, or they usually dress up as princesses, but unless it was me and then I dressed up as Gilda Radner. But I think it's becoming more and more pretty normal. And like I said, I think you have to take it like everything with a grain of salt. I think everybody has a story to write. When I was on SNL, everybody said, "Wow, it's such a boys' club. How do you?" And it's like, that's an old story. It's just an old story.
So have any of you found any, what was your reaction as that stuff was coming out last summer? Were you taken aback by that, or was there any element of maybe this needs to be, people need to be reminded about this? What did you think?
They loved it. They loved it.
It was nice that it was such a huge movie. And
what is Bridesmaids?
There are these peep creatures that live in the forest.
I've not heard of this movie. It's a facial cream.
It's a facial cream.
But it was nice because there was a ridiculousness to it that women do comedy, that it's not breaking news. But I guess what was breaking news was that this comedy that happened to star women and that happened to be edgy. Sure. I was going to say raunchy, but I'm not going to insult you. You're sitting right there.
We can do it later.
But this edgy comedy that pushes the limits happens to be women, and it was a huge success. So I don't know why that shocked everybody, but that's fine. I mean, there have been women in the last few years that seem to shock people. Tina Fey seemed to shock people that she was a head writer, that she created a show and she writes films. I don't know why that's shocking, but that's okay. It's great, and if people are getting used to the idea, then that's good for us.
I also felt like it was, like in a way, and I understand these points as well, but also there was a certain excitement that came with it as well. It's not like it wasn't so degrading, although it is funny just to be associated with comedy, that's all, like, it's weird for me that all I get asked about is Bridesmaids and its impact on things. And it's like, I was involved in some films that were about weddings too, so they were just like, so Bridesmaids must have had a big impact on this film, and you're just like, well, it's nothing like Bridesmaids, but there are bridesmaids in it, and we're women in it. It's a weird correlation to make, but I was still excited that people were excited again about women being funny, even though none of us were aware that they had stopped being excited about it.
Exactly, yeah.
Well,
I think it's a hard question because I think we all have been doing this a long time. I know I've been for 20 years, love sitcom, love comedy. And I've always, funny is funny at the end of the day,
Right.
men, women, whatever. And we've kind of grown up with it. I know that I have. And I don't know why it was such a, there's hilarious women comedians out there and actors, and it's all, it's all the same thing.
Well, I think we're not as agog with it because it's normal for
That's
all
what
of
I
us.
mean,
Like, I have a
exactly.
lot of funny female friends, and I feel like that I have, strived to be in funny female groups at all times. So it's not like super shocking to any of us. So to get all the questions like we've, built a rocket ship, we're not as impressed with ourselves because it's just our normal thing that we're striving for. Like, oh yeah, that's our goal, to make you laugh. But
one thing
But
that's
at the same time, it's great that people are celebrating women being funny again at this time, and it was a great movie, and everybody.
you
So it's
just
still an
always-
exciting
That
thing.
definitely opened the doors, and it was like, oh my God, women
You
can
just
lead
feel
these
like
films.
it doesn't have to always have a little footnote or a little
Right.
sidebar.
If it's funny, it's funny, and
Back in
but
the
if,
post.
I guess people thought. I guess now that we're talking about it, I think what surprised men, because like we're saying, I don't think women are surprised that women are funny, but I think men might have been surprised that they thought the movie was so funny.
Yeah.
And instead of saying it's a girl movie, I'm not going to go see it. They were the ones that were going to see it because they heard it was funny, and it was funny. So I think maybe that was the shocker. of
That
it.
was the shocker.
That was the shocker.
Kaley, on your show, it's sort of in contrast. Very quietly, it evolved from 4 guys and a girl to a show that's very gender neutral in terms of like who gets the laughs and where the material's going. When you signed up for the show, did you ever envision it going in that direction?
I don't think you ever envision what's happened
Yeah.
with the show. It did start out with 2 guys and the cute girl next door. And I think people judged it from the minute, it came out of the doors. And that my character was very small, actually, at the beginning. I remember Chuck Lorre, the creator, saying, the character's going to grow, and as you do on a show, on a series. So, and it's grown, and we have other female characters on the show now who are hilarious. And it's after we're going into our 6th season. Everyone knows like the show just grows, your character grows. There's relationships grow, and at the end of the day, it's really all about the writing. And now the relationships are so strong, and you take any 2 characters and put them in a room, and it's gonna be funny.
How do you feel about how your character has evolved specifically and the directions it's been going in?
I think it's good because at the beginning it literally was the cute girl next door, and you're kind of like every show is kind of starts out the same, and it's grown to my character's gotten sarcastic and funny, and she hangs out with the guys, and she can kind of she's not obviously completely book smart, but her street smarts are completely beyond them, and I love that. They gave her a total backbone, and she's become a really cool chick.
Yeah. Cheryl, you went from Curb Your Enthusiasm to a very different character on Suburgatory. Were you explicitly seeking a sort of change of pace, or was it just this was great material and you were game for it?
Well, it was really hard because Curb Your Enthusiasm was such an amazing experience, and Larry's so smart, and Jeff Garland. So I was hoping not to be the wife of another comedian, which, that a lot of times those are the roles. And that's fine too, because they're needed. But when I read Suburgatory, I wasn't looking for a specific thing, but when I read Suburgatory, it made me laugh, and I liked the writing, and I love this character. So, and I thought it would be really fun to do something completely different. So that's why I chose it.
And has that character evolved in ways that surprised you, that you didn't see coming?
Yeah, my character is Dallas, and even though she's very shallow, very, very driven by how she looks, there's a part of her that's, she really wants to be a good mom, and she's probably more complicated than you might think at the beginning, because at the end of the day, she wants to be a good mom, and she thinks that if she gets her daughter to dress really sexy, that's being a good mom because her daughter feels good about herself. So there are different layers to her that, I think have come out through the season. Like Kaley was talking about, the writers. It's all about the writers and the creator. They're great. Emily Cabinet created the show, and and they've been very mindful to not just say she's this or she's that or this storyline, George and Dallas should never be together or should always be together, or, life is complicated. And they've managed to put different shades in each character, and I appreciate that.
Kristen, you signed up for a Showtime show, which sort of inherently means it's going to be a dark comedy. And even by those standards, it went into really dark places for your character in particular. By the end of the season, it's sort of, you go rock bottom, and then you sort of emerge from it with that triumphant sort of drunken toast, I guess. Did you know it was going to go that dark? Were you prepared for it to go? Were you excited to go that dark?
I don't know if I foresaw it going that dark. I knew that it was going to be Showtime, so it was probably going to be provocative, and there was going to be a lot of T&A. Not my T's, guys.
What about your A? No? Oh, sometimes.
Maybe the top half of my A.
Just a little cheek.
But not my T's. Good luck next time. No. No, but I mean, I knew it was going to push the limits, and I don't know. I mean, Matt Carnahan, our show creator, is so warm, and he's like a big bear. He's just so kind and smiley and lovely, and the stuff that comes out of his brain is sick. And that is kind of what I love, because he's always surprising you, and I'm reading it and I'm going, what is going on? I was really excited to sort of have a role that I could really peel like an onion, and has almost no moral barometer whatsoever, and is really just so damaged and so selfish that she's just trying to get through the day. But what I liked about it, in more so than its provocativeness or how dark it is the fact that even in the pilot, they were talking about everything that was taboo. And I think that's why I was so excited to be on cable for the first time, because one of our main storylines is Don Cheadle's son is a cross-dressing 11-year-old.
Right.
I'm not saying it happens everywhere, but there are some boys in America who love to wear pink sparkly tank tops. And no one will do a storyline about that because it's weird and it's taboo, but it shows you what's Don supposed to do. And he goes through the ride of, encouraging it, discouraging it, talking about it with him, pretending like it's normal. And I'm really excited by storylines like that.
This is a comedy, for Emmy purposes anyway. It's a comedy. You were on Veronica Mars, which was tons of fun and characterized as a drama, basically, I think. Is it strange to see sort of those lines blurring at all?
Yeah, I guess. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, evidence would tell us maybe I'm a blurry line, like I'm being too funny on the drama and really dramatic on the comedy. I don't know. I haven't ever thought about that. I mean, I love going to work, and I love working, and I love watching everything else that's unfolding that I wasn't a part of shooting. I normally fast forward through my stuff, but I love watching the rest of it. But I've never thought about that Ron Mars was a drama and this is a comedy, and it really seems vice versa.
Ron Mars.
Oh yeah, Ron Mars, Veronica Mars.
If you're
It's her,
clo-
it's her Nikki.
Get with the
I
lingo.
like that
First
you
name
call
basis.
her Ron.
Ron, yeah.
Ron Mars.
Speaking of blurring lines, your career has been blurring them for a few years now with doing Mad Men and Community at the same time. I mean, the differences between the shows go without saying. What are the sort of the common threads, either in sort of your approach or the way the shows are done?
Well, it's interesting. I think when you're looking at comedy and drama, and people always want to say that they're so different to do, but I feel like as actors, you're using the same tools all the time. I mean, and to be honest, I feel like, well, especially because the character I play on Mad Men, I feel like the Campbells, I mean, and not Pete all the time, but Trudy especially, they can kind of be the comic relief element to some episodes anyway, even when they're amidst, dramatic situations. And our first season of Community, I swear I was crying way more on the set of Community than on the set of Mad Men. It was like our scenes on Mad Men were like light and fun that year, and on Community I was just like always in tears and channeling this stuff. And so it really is the same toolbox. You're just kind of tweaking it a little to the left or a little to the right. Yeah.
I've asked, I've asked some of
I
the
feel like
others.
I'm looping around now and maybe
Well,
not completely answering your
No, it's
question.
definitely. I mean, I'm sure you do what you do, whatever the job is. You bring what you have.
Yeah.
I asked some of the others about what their expectations were when they started on the show and how those maybe got upended. I mean, with Community, how much of the wildness did you anticipate?
Oh, I mean, none at all. I feel like we as a cast look at each other all the time. You know, in our third season, it would just be like, we had no idea when we read this pilot. We knew it was really funny. It was smart. It was well written. The cast was incredible, but it just sort of seemed like a regular comedy about people going to college. And the show, I feel like, has come so far and gone so out there thanks to our amazing writers and Dan Harmon's brilliant mind and all these things. And for me, especially because the character of Annie actually just started out, I was on like a 10 out of 13 contract. I wasn't even signed on I was a regular, but, you know, when the show began. And then as we continued to shoot the first season, we were like, well, I feel like there's not going to be an episode where suddenly any character is not involved. And the more that the actors on the show sort of talked to the writers and got to know them, and they got to know us and our strengths comedically and vice versa, like that a little bit of ourselves kind of started to creep into the characters, and these idiosyncrasies developed based on our interactions on set and all that kind of thing. And so it became this just completely other thing. And Annie as a character just completely different than she started out.
I would think that would be one of the talents of a successful writer in TV, is just being able to spot those little things in an actress or an actor and be able to just capitalize them.
Yeah, our writers are incredible, and they do like good recon, and they'll come and corner you and be like, "I hear you have a funny sex story. Tell it to me."
Don't you feel like they're like watching you in your house? I read storylines and I'm like, that just happened to me last week. Like that's not normal.
Are they watching you in your house? I
Sometimes
mean, have
feel
you
like
ruled
they
it
actually
out?
do.
I'm
Watching
just
in your
starting to
house.
imitate art a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
Does that feel
It's sometimes it's sometimes scary accurate,
They
and I
want to
think
know. They're like, what did you do last night? And they're asking me, all these things, and it's written the next week. I'm like, I should have never told him that. You know?
it's also interesting commentary, I think, on just things that you do in ways that you are. Because for a while, I could always tell when the writers were writing things into other people's characters that were like them. I'd be like, oh, they're nailing you. And then I would stop and be like, wait a minute, and go back and read the script and be like, oh, that's how they think I am. And I am that way.
Nailing you.
They nailed me.
Maya, can you talk about sort of the contrast between doing Saturday Night Live and doing a weekly sitcom, and just sort of the change of pace, what that was like for you?
I started doing Up All Night mainly because, like most people that come out of Saturday Night Live, you're weirdly obsessed with that place, and it's like an addiction, and you can't shake it. Because, in fairness, there really isn't another show, schedule, and performance-wise on TV right now that's like Saturday Night Live, and it's really hard to get out of your system. And I think most of the people that have been on the show are usually nerds for it, you know, like lifelong nerds, and want to be there no matter what, like come hell or high water. So once that's over, you sort of don't know what to do with yourself unless you have like a real direction. But I mean, in the same way that I think, you know, I'm thinking too many things at once. Let me go back. I was going to say it's really different, but the reason I decided to do this show was because my friend Emily Spivey, who I met at the Groundlings with Cheryl, everything comes back to Cheryl, was a writer on SNL, and I pretty much wrote everything with her, or she created everything for me, and we've been working together for like 15 years. And when someone knows your voice really well, it's really nice to be in their hands. And then knowing that it was a Lorne Michaels show, I felt like I was with family, sort of. It's really nice to start a new job with people that know you really well, which rarely happens. And so it's a safety there. And it's nice because I feel like we're not starting at ground zero in terms of them knowing my voice. We already know each other, and we can just get to work. And we also have this sort of abnormal skill set because we wrote on a weekly variety show, so we would sort of work till the last minute, writing till the last second until you actually saw the show live. And I think those elements are applied sometimes, which I like. and I like working that way. So it doesn't, in that respect, it doesn't feel totally different because I feel like we're implementing some of the same tools.
So has the collaboration between you and Emily just really, it's been like just the next phase of doing Saturday Night Live? Has it been seamless, or have you altered the style any differently for Weekly?
This is different in that, it's the writers and the actors and there's a writer's room, and then you're down on the floor, and that I'm not used to. I don't care for that as much. It feels very separated. Hopefully, in a perfect world, maybe because we've only done one season, maybe next season we can kind of marry the two a little bit, because I prefer to work collaboratively. Hint, hint.
If you're watching this.
If you're watching, everyone.
You guys,
We've talked about that. It's no secret.
we start talking about showrunners, and obviously they're hugely important. We've seen with Community how important Dan was to that show, to the point where there was an uproar when we learned that he wasn't coming back. Are the showrunners, once you get a showrunner you have the confidence in, will you follow them anywhere? I mean, do you just trust their vision implicitly, or are there times where you sort of, it depends, you're not sure? I mean, can you talk about the relationship with the showrunner a little bit?
I'll start because certainly my experience on Curb Your Enthusiasm was different. Larry was Larry's Larry, but very clear vision, and it was, the comedy comes from a very specific place, and he's very good at articulating that. Even though the show was improvised, we all knew who our characters were and what the show was about. So now on Suburgatory, as I said, Emily Kapnick is an amazing showrunner, and I am, I have found myself our season, for our first season, I had to only trust her. I mean, I would. Every time I read the script, I really look forward to the table reads, because I never knew what they were going to make me do. I've had to dance. Oh, God. The clothes that I have to wear are insane.
Amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, my breasts alone are amazing. Yeah. And in real life, they're not. And, I've had to, I've had to do a lot of things that I would never in a million years do. The stripper pole at the PTA meeting, things like that. But I have to, I read it, and sometimes I'll, yell at her and say, "How could you?" And then 2 days later, I'm, on the stripper pole. But it's but all I feel like I can do is trust her. She's the one that created the show. She created this character, and she knows. She sees the whole picture. I see, the world through my character, but she is all of those characters. So I feel like my personal experience is all you can do is blindly trust your showrunner.
Yeah.
No, you go.
Okay. Well, okay. I think nothing is. Nothing is for sure. I mean, it's definitely, you could either love your showrunner or hate your showrunner, just like you could love your coworker or hate your coworker. Hopefully not hate, you just try to get through it. I mean, but I think bringing it back to what Maya said, if you do have someone that knows your voice, and they also maybe have a pretty decent personality, I find that I will gravitate and fall in line. I won't just fall in line with anybody, like, oh, it's my showrunner. I'm not like, an immediate sister wife or something. I'm just like, I want to work collaboratively, and I want to have opinions, but I also want to listen to other people. And when you find someone that you click with, I find I would follow them anywhere. Like Rob Thomas, who created Ron Mars.
What? Ron Mars, all the kids are saying it.
He then created Party Down, and he called me one day and said, "Hey, do you wanna?" And I said yes, and then just hung up, because I don't even need to know the end of the sentence, because the answer.
That you still use a rotary phone.
And then she dialed like this.
Sorry, Rob, I hung up. What were you asking? No, but I immediately said yes, like what Maya was saying, because he knows my voice. Yeah. He knows my limits. He knows what I'm going to be able to make believable or funny. And he knows what I can't handle. So it
You're right. You know what? You're right, because I have had an experience with someone. Yes, just
tread
say it.
lightly.
No. I mean, but just I'm an old person. I've had a lot of I've been around. I've seen a lot of things in this town. But there have been people. If I feel like they don't know, they're not clear about their point of view, then it's really hard to follow them.
Yes.
Because
it's also safety. Sorry.
yeah, no, but go ahead.
It's also safety for them. I mean, we're thinking about the safety of ourselves, but it's
Right.
also really luxurious to have somebody who, I remember, being at Saturday Night Live, year 5, then people's voices. So when you plunk them into your sketch, it's so easy to write for them. And I think that's what you were saying comes out of, multiple seasons is then these characters really start to take on lives of their own. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I work with Chuck Lorre, and I felt like I worked with him many, many years ago, and he told me that we'll work together again soon. And him being the showrunner of our show, it's like you can't even. I'm giving him a big compliment. He's like the Spielberg of television. I always tell him that. I mean, he comes from a musical background, so everything is very musical and on the beat. And with sitcom, you really have to be the way. I would follow him anywhere. I mean, he's completely the genius behind the show. And there's such a comfort going to work every day, knowing he's taking care of everything. I mean, that is a huge blessing. Not everyone has that, security.
I mean, you brought up Dan and his genius when it comes to Community, and you're absolutely right. And I think that as a cast, everybody did feel the same way about following him blindly into everything. And I don't think it took us a lot of time. I think it just, as I said, the show evolved so much based on Dan wanting to push these boundaries, the boundaries of television, try to put things on TV that had never been on TV before, and look at a sitcom or a comic TV show in a different way. And I think as soon as we started to see him kind of pushing the envelope a little more and more, we all just got really excited about it. And it was like sort of like he gave us this amazing integrity too, because he was fighting these battles to get more interesting stuff on the show. And then we were just like, yeah, like this is why we do TV. Like it made us really impassioned and excited about what we were doing. So yes, we would do anything. And it became like such a fun thing to read the next script and see, or we'd hear rumors. We're always like cornering the writers and asking them about what they're working on, because they're like, well, you may be going into space soon. And we'd be like, no way, how's it gonna work? And just playing with the format and that kind of thing. I think we were all just game. But like you said, it's also getting to know each other, and then him being like, oh, I can trust you guys to do whatever I'm gonna throw at you.
Can each of you, and I'll go down the line if you don't mind, talk about sort of the moment where you really felt you had your character nailed, like something that sort of where you finally realized you had wrapped your head around it in a way that sort of made it your own?
Oh my gosh. March 3rd, 2007. I tattooed
was
it on my arm.
4:47
Yeah.
p.m.
I think that's a really weird. I
it's
mean,
weird.
It's a very difficult question to answer, because being a whatever artist, however you want to, whatever
Lesbian.
label you want to categorize all of us
Lesbian.
under, there's a creative process that is constantly changing. It's like a snow globe that you never stop shaking. Everything is always falling in different little bits, and when you sequence those images on television and then you broadcast them, and that's what you get for the week. But I don't know if I've ever really felt like
I nailed it.
I nailed it.
Yeah, same.
That was her.
No, it's like scene by scene every week.
Yeah.
It's like, I feel like it's never really, for me, because I do it in front of a live audience, when I get the laugh, it's like, oh, thank God. But you don't always get that feeling, so.
And it's also, I think, for like what I would explain it as, it's not necessarily about whether or not I nailed the character, it's whether or not what I did was truthful. So, like, for me, all the characters I've played, get this, look exactly like me. No way. I swear to God.
What?
I swear to God.
Even
It's weird.
Ron?
Even Ron. But I'm presenting myself this package, and I'm just going to show you something and say some words that someone else wrote. And so my goal is not necessarily... I let, like, if I'm in a doctor's uniform, you're gonna get that I'm a doctor. That's how I'll inform you. I'm not gonna like act like a doctor.
Your pancreas hurts.
I'm gonna let the environment inform you as to who I am, but I'm just looking for like Kristen doing something truthful.
I also think that, because we're talking about television and television shows that go on and on, the characters are constantly changing and evolving. And I know we've all just been going on and on about how much they change and evolve, but it is different. It's not like a movie where you're just going to look at the script and be like, oh, now I'm going to just invest X amount of time into figuring out who this person is, and then I'll know when it's done, and then it has a beginning and a middle and an end. The lives of these characters are always, it's like we're always learning new things about the character when, because we got another season, and then the writers are going to write new things, and I'm going to find out stuff about Annie's personal life from when she was a teenager that I haven't been like playing for 3 years intuitively. Right. But but then you learn it and you just apply it. So I think it would be hard to pinpoint any time where you're like, that's the most when I was her, because they're always changing.
When you do a table read, there's an immediate response. So I think, do you guys all do table reads for your? So not really. Yeah, it's different. Every show is different. But when you do a table read with comedy, you get there. It creates an energy. So if you say something and it works or doesn't work, and it's immediate. Whereas, I don't know, a drama, you probably don't get that same sort of vibe from a table read. You say that one thing, people don't start crying. But in comedy, you say that one thing and people laugh.
At the Mad Men table, no.
So many tears.
He just cries.
So,
I cry constantly.
So I think as a comedic actor, you're informed all the time by people, by people's responses, if you're headed in the right direction or not. Because it would be a sad table read if you
pretty early.
Yeah,
this
if you're
is
like
not going anywhere.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a lot of rewrites tonight.
if you're doing your character and people are like, super sad sack, you're not headed in the right direction.
Yeah. Can I switch gears real quick and talk about just sort of in this era of social media, talk about sort of the relationship with the fans and really in the last few years, how dramatically that's changed. Talk about how you embrace that or don't embrace that. Are you on Twitter? Are you excited by interacting with them that way, or would you rather just sort of stay away?
Oh, I think it's a huge reason why any of us are. I mean, for our show, The Big Bang. It's all about the fans. I mean, we have a very core. Comic-Con is our big thing. We're very popular there. I don't know if I should be bragging about that, but we are. But no, I mean, I go back 5 years ago to our season 1 when the writer's strike happened after episode 8, and they were like, bye, see you guys later, we're probably never coming back to work. And they aired our 8 episodes for like 3 months, like over and over. And people just got so in love with it, and they started watching, and we had this fan base that didn't leave us, and they're still with us today. And we always say, like, we would be nothing without our fabulous nerdy fans who have stuck by the show. I mean, without them, we wouldn't be on the air.
The community fans are the same way. I feel like we share a similar fan base. So I'm like,
definitely.
Comic-Con.
Yeah.
And I'm on Twitter. I don't do any of the other. Sounds so weird. I don't know how to even sound. I don't do any of the other.
What those young kids are doing.
Why did I become Southern? Why Southern was the choice?
It's called Facebook, guys.
Yeah.
What? I don't do the Facebooking. No, I am on Twitter. I love connecting with fans on Twitter. I feel like it was a weird when our show was on hiatus for a little while, and we were shooting episodes, but they were not airing. That was like a weird period because we're so used to kind of getting that immediate fan feedback after every episode, and kind of like, I know that the writers enjoyed it too because it was this interesting fuel for them, and not like they were basing all of our future episodes on fan critique, but they would take things to heart and kind of work in, personal kind of inside jokes with the fans and things like that. And so I feel like the Twitter relationship with fans is very cool. It's just like immediate, fan mail. And it was also nice during the hiatus to see this like outpour of love from our fans, and that kind of helped us because it felt like kind of a dark, insulated period of time. So it was great to have them then. Also, fan art is a very cool thing. Gillian Jacobs, who plays Britta on the show, is like kind of obsessed with like the fan art, and so we'll send each other pictures that people will draw of us. We're super vain, or of other characters on the show, and they're awesome. People are doing
A lot of that at Comic-Con.
Oh my God, they're doing
Lot of drawings.
6 seasons and a movie art show soon. That's like all art inspired by community. Like, what? These people are amazing. They're pretty it's pretty incredible to me.
That's nice. I like that.
I love it.
I think it's both lovely and terrifying.
It's true because sometimes the photos are really horrifying.
Yeah, the honest thing. I mean, for me personally, because there's the weird thing that you deal with when you're broadcast into someone's home. You're at the dinner table with them. There is an intimacy. I've gone out in public and as I'm sure all you guys have, and someone has been like, "Hey," and I've been like, "Whoa, bro,
Stranger danger."
They feel they have a comfort level that's not
being
normal.
etiquette cannot just go out the window because you see an actor. Now that said, I'm sure that I've seen people where I've gotten way too intimate. It's just an exciting thing when you see someone that you
Feel like you know.
feel like you know.
I did that to George Clooney once.
I did. I went. No, just
And then I realized I really did that to George Clooney, and I was like, oh, I've never met him.
it's a
met him.
but
How
it's
did
a
he react?
strange feeling that we all.
Totally went with it because it probably happens to him all day. But I was saying this to a friend about 2 hours ago. Literally the same thing, which is they have a relationship with you that exists in their bedroom, in their living room, at their dinner table, and you're theirs. And it's it has nothing. And even though they're humans and they understand human interaction, that's a different relationship than the relationship they have with other humans.
But then again, when you're saying like Twitter, because it's so succinct and it's only 140 letters or whatever, I do feel like, and certainly in your show's a great example. I mean, and everybody's, you get hardcore fans that really, really love the show. There's everything so beautiful about that. Like people who like rallied when your show, like was saving your show.
Yes.
Like we will not let it go off the air.
Is
That's
incredible.
also awesome. And you can get in direct contact with people that are actually really fans of the artistic project that you're currently a part of. That's a really awesome feeling. And it's not anything like when someone comes up and rubs your shoulders at a movie theater. It's like people ask you funny questions about the show via Twitter and you can answer them and you're like, oh, that's really cool that they wondered why this happened and not this.
So in and of itself, social media's made people more invested in the show, do you think?
And like you guys are saying, they are. I mean, if fans can save a show through social networking, that's a lot of power. I mean, it gives them a voice and it makes them feel connected. I also think, it's a different, like Kristen's saying, it's a different world. It's, feel like they can say anything they want because they're on a computer and there's anonymity and people don't know who
That's
they are.
the biggest part of it.
Yeah.
There's a
So-
lot of boldness behind
There's
it.
a lot, yeah.
A screen.
So there are
Pros and cons.
If they obey the rules of simple human decency, it's a net plus.
I just want to go on
That's a lot
record
to
saying
ask of
I don't have a Twitter account, but there is a Maya Rudolph Twitter account. So if you guys try to tweet me and I don't respond, it's not personal because it's not me.
good to
We
know.
need to get her on.
No, it is interesting. I think also about what you're
get her
saying
off.
about the good and bad, like, and people don't realize. Like, I read most of people's Twitter responses to me, especially after episodes of the show, because I get excited, like you said, to see what people picked up on or didn't, and because there is this separation. It's like once in a while you'll respond, and not too often, thankfully, but people will say kind of weird, mean, horrific things, and it's like, so once in a while. I've responded to those and kind of been like, ouch. And immediately they'll respond and be like,
bad
they'll be like, I'm so sorry. I didn't think that you would read that. And you're just sort of like, no,
sometimes people need to be called out.
boldness. Yeah, because it's a funny thing. I mean, and I don't usually like to reward bad behavior.
Yeah.
So I don't encourage that. But I just think it's funny that it's like they're just saying something for shock value or some, you know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
can't take all that stuff to heart too, because it's like, this is, if that person met you that said that really mean thing, they'd probably be like, oh my God.
No, we used to have the same thing at Saturday Night Live because Twitter did not exist. Back in the old days, Twitter didn't
You were
exist.
listening to your phonograph.
I was listening to my
You were
phonograph.
cranking it up on a
My
Saturday
Facebook
night.
character.
That's your Facebook character?
You and my Facebook character.
Yeah, that's right. But my friend Anna Gasteyer used to lovingly refer to it as cutting, which is if you go online and read about yourself, it's called cutting, because there were these like SNL nerds that would write really crappy things, like, oh, that episode sucked. I hated that. That was BS. And then, or I don't know, maybe I can curse. I'm trying to be polite to Variety. And then we learned that most of the kids that would hang out downstairs in the lobby were those people. And they were the kids that were like, hey, I'm taking pictures with you and want to be your best friend. And, you know, it sheds a light on the fact that there is this anonymity and safety at a computer. And you really got to, again, take it with a grain of salt,
And
guys.
also, there's another psychological problem that's probably not a topic of discussion for this panel, but having a non-stop feed of information about yourself isn't the healthiest thing for anything.
ma'am.
I know that we're actors and we seem like invincible because we're here and we're talking about what great times we have shooting and we're like super excited to be in the spotlight. But like, we're not human beings. Like every one of us goes home and feels fat or ugly or gets excited or gets sad. Like I know that sounds so juvenile to reiterate, but it is kind of important because oftentimes you take all of those human emotions away from the person that you're watching on television. So I don't like, there are times when I love going on Twitter and like think it's really sweet that people are asking questions and I like to do it. And then there are weeks when I don't turn it on because I don't want an influx of information. Like you'll get intoxicated and you'll go bananas. It's too narcissistic.
It's true.
We're going to have to wrap things up, but a lightning round question before I let you go.
Let's do it.
Favorite moment from a favorite moment, doesn't have to be the favorite moment, a favorite moment from the past season, a moment you loved, a moment you'll cherish, a moment that was funny or sad.
Does it have to be this season?
No.
All right, I'll go.
That
I
helps.
think it was season 1. I don't even remember. Season 1 or 2. It was the only holiday/Christmas we did this big holiday episode, and it was the first time I gave a Leonard Nimoy napkin. You remember this to Sheldon? Still makes me laugh. And he gets all excited and he hugs Penny. It was their first time he actually physically touched her. And I remember reading the script the day before rehearsal, and I ran to Jim Parsons' room and I was like, Penny and Sheldon hug. And I started crying. I was so excited. I was like, what is wrong with me? I was so excited because it was such a sweet moment, and I've never forgot it. We've never done a holiday episode since because they continue to show that one. It's just like a sweet one.
That's great.
Yeah.
In this last season, my character gets a divorce, and then she has a breakdown in a mattress store, and she's like won't get off the mattress, and she's crying. And Jeremy Sisto's character George, he gets on the bed with me, and we're just lying there, and he talks me out of, and he says people get depressed and it's okay, but my character had never even imagined that she could be depressed. But it was just a really sweet moment in a heightened reality that we live in on Suburgatory, but we have these real moments. I liked it. It's cute.
Yeah.
Highlight, I think, of this season and probably my life was when I watched Richard Schiff pretend poop into a suitcase in front of all the entire our office. We have glass doors at the company we work at, and we were having a conversation, and through the window, just bare-cheeked, Richard Schiff is squatting like a big bear over the suitcase, leaving our boss a real nice little treat.
That is so sweet.
Well, to see a really, really good
Beautiful
actor do
story.
work like that, it was beautiful.
Just to let you know, this isn't the first panel that had poop mentioned in it, so you're in.
I am
Surprised
not
this happened
surprised.
so late. I've been waiting.
Poop is funny.
It is. Take it from this guy. Sorry, I just immediately apologize for that.
Oh, I love you more now.
Okay. I would say, a series of moments from the third season of the show would be anytime we reference the song "Daybreak" from the album "Break of Day" that goes do 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 do, because it was in our Halloween episode, and they let Danny sing it for so long, and then after that, because I think it took us a while to realize that every time we would sing it, they would have to go through a whole thing and get the rights again to use it. And Donald, we all just started to try to slip it into different episodes, and it made its way into a number of episodes. And the first one that I thought was so funny was when we were shooting an episode where I step on Danny's Batman DVD, and Donald is coming out of his blanket fort, and Donald just pretends to fake lock the blanket fort and is just humming "Daybreak" from Break of Day. And just those kinds of things that then it becomes our goal as a cast to work them into to work them in. Those are all my favorite moments.
I got to profess my childhood love to Henry Winkler, which was a little bit complicated because he played my dad on the show, and I had to tell him, like, I wanted to marry you, but now you're my dad, and that's okay. That was really exciting. He's so lovely. Have you guys ever met him? He should be like a saint of television. Like, he's a beautiful human being. He really is. He spreads a lot of love and a lot of joy. So I'm gonna vote Winkler.
I'm gonna go
Vote Winkler.
Vote
I'm gonna go
Winkler in
Winkler
2012.
9,000.
Winkler.
2012.
Vote Winkler in
Winkler 2012.
29,000.
Well,
And that that would be one of them.
well, thank you all very much for this, and good luck with everything going forward.